Hello everybody, and welcome to this e-lesson on music classifications. By the end of this video, we will have talked about the two different types of music classifications and how one of them allows for a much broader range of instruments to be classified. Let's start with what's known as the Western orchestral system. The orchestral system started in Europe and has been accepted in most parts of the world as a way of classifying Western instruments. This system defines instruments by relating to each other, or by putting instruments into orchestral families. They can be related for a few different reasons, due to the material they're made of, how the sound is produced, or the similarity to one another. There are four main families in this system, and these are brass, string, woodwind, and percussion families. When combined, these four families make up the sections in an orchestra. Instruments in the brass family are traditionally made of brass. They are played by blowing raspberries into a mouthpiece, which therefore means they use air to produce sound. The pitch of the instrument, which means how high or low the note is, can be changed by making air move through shorter or longer sections of pipe. The longer the journey, the lower the note gets. Trombones use a manual slide to make the overall pipe longer or shorter, whereas trumpets and French horns use buttons or valves to change the length of pipe. Looking at the instruments on the screen, which one do you think can produce the lowest sound? I'd now like to introduce you to Grant Llewellyn, who was once the conductor for the BBC National Orchestra of Wales. He will now introduce you to some instruments in the brass family.
My name is Grant, and I'm the conductor of the orchestra. Together, the brass section sounds like this. That is the brass section.
The string family is traditionally made of wood and makes sound by vibrating strings amplified through a resonating body. They can be played by plucking or hitting the strings, or by using a bow. Usually, the smaller the body is and the thinner the strings are, the higher the pitch of the instrument. Grant will now introduce the string family.
Together, the string section sounds like this. That is the string section.
Traditionally, the woodwind family were all made of wood. To produce sound, a thin piece of wooden material called a reed is used and vibrates against a mouthpiece when you blow into it. This is the main characteristic in the woodwind family, which is why the brass saxophone is classified as a woodwind instrument. Like the other two families, the larger the instrument, the deeper the sound. Grant will now introduce the woodwind family.
Together, the woodwind section sounds like this. That is the woodwind section.
The last family in this system is the percussion instruments. They can be made from a variety of instruments, and you play them by hitting them. They can be hit with a variety of instruments, including hands, mallets, or a metal rod, and produce a variety of sounds. Grant will now introduce the percussion family.
Let's meet some of the instruments in the percussion section. The claves, the maracas, the bongos, the drum kit, And that is the percussion section.
So, we can see that the orchestral system is really good at classifying orchestral instruments. But what about a didgeridoo? What family is this from? Well, the answer is that it doesn't really meet any of the criteria for any of the orchestral families, so it can't be classified using the orchestral system. That's when these two come in. Kurt Sachs was a German musicologist well known for his study of instrument history. He worked to create a global classification system with Austrian-born Erich Moritz von Hornbostel. They were both suited for the job, with Hornbostel known for his study of non-European music. The beauty of this system is that non-Western instruments can also be classified. As Sachs and Hornbostel knew the science behind sound, they knew that sound is made up of vibrations moving through the air, which we recognize and interpret through our ears. Using this method, instruments are classified not in their physical attributes, but on how these sound vibrations are made. A limitation to the SH method is that sound can be produced in more than one way, making classifications sometimes tricky. The 5 different classifications are aerophones, idiophones, membranophones, chordophones, and electrophones. Like the name suggests, an aerophone produces sound through blowing air through or around the instrument. For example, both woodwind and brass instruments can be aerophones, as they both use a vibrating mouthpiece to create sound. Idiophones produce sound by the whole instrument vibrating. Most percussion instruments are classified as idiophones, as it's the instrument itself making the noise, not strings or air. As you can see, some examples include the claves and maracas we saw in the percussion video a few minutes ago. Membranophones are played by striking a membrane or skin. These vibrations can be amplified using a larger resonant body, with the larger membranes and bodies creating lower notes. Membranophones can either have definite or indefinite pitch. Definite pitch means that the instrument can only make one note, whereas indefinite membranophones can change the pitch of their notes. An example of an indefinite membranophone is a timpani, which uses a foot pedal to stretch or loosen the membrane. This results in either a higher or lower note. Most instruments that are played by strings are classified as chordophones. These instruments can be played in a variety of ways using a range of tools. Surprisingly, a piano is a chordophone, as it uses hammers to hit strings to produce sounds when you play a key. Here's a video of an upright piano with the lid removed, so that you can see the hammers at work. The last SH classification is the newest, and is called the electrophones. This classification was made in the early 20th century to classify any instrument that used electricity to either produce sound electronically or to amplify an acoustic sound. These subclassifications are known as electronic instruments and amplified acoustical instruments. Examples of an electronic instrument is a synthesizer, which uses different electrical waveforms to augment and create pitch. An example of an amplified acoustical instrument would be an electric guitar. While the sound is amplified using pickups, the original sound comes from acoustic vibrating strings. So, back to our original puzzling instrument. What classification is a didgeridoo? Answer the following quiz to see if you're correct. Yep, a didgeridoo is an aerophone, as it uses air vibrations as a method for sound production. Let's try classifying another instrument. What classification is a tambourine? Correct, a tambourine is a membranophone, as its primary sound production is made by hitting the membrane. However, if it were to be shaken, it could be classified as an idiophone due to the little cymbals. One more instrument. What classification is an acoustic guitar? Well, this is another tricky one. If it's plugged into an amp, then the primary sound production is electronic, making it an electrophone. But if the instrument is being played acoustically, then it's a chordophone, as it's the strings that primarily produce the sound. However, if the guitar is being hit or slapped as a percussion instrument, then it becomes an idiophone. See how this method of classification can get confusing quickly? What's important to know is that there are many different ways to classify an instrument. In Australian ensembles, we tend to use the orchestral system, as it applies to most of the instruments we use. It's important to know the SH system though, as it can be a lot more specific in the way that sound is made. Have a wonderful day and see you in class.